Roger, welcome to Straight Rhythm. It's great to see you.
Yeah, well, it's good to be here. It's a beautiful day, and the track looks awesome.
Roger, let me get your opinion of Straight Rhythm. I'll obviously share my opinion after I hear yours, but the riders have to focus on just one element, and that's going straight.
Yeah, but it's still a race, and there's always something to learn from it, And of course, it's a straight line, so stability of the bike is very important. And we'll see how our guys do, And Marvin looked really good this morning, and Ryan, just like always, kind of a little bit conservative, and then we have Trey for the first time that he's going to be in a race on a KTM, and I hope everything goes well. I think you always learn something, It's hard to say how much you can apply from this race to a regular Supercross, but like I said, I feel the stability is the biggest element, and for the riders, I think to control themselves, not to overdo things. I think on a track like this, it's very easy to overcommit and then get out of sync,
Last year, I was watching Ryan Dungey, and he came out, as always, just spot on, not making one mistake, but riding as if he had 20 laps. But then halfway through practice and just doing the straight runs and scrubbing and wheel tapping and the different combinations that he had, he started to ride more aggressive. Did last year's Straight Rhythm help Ryan be more aggressive in Supercross?
Yeah, it's short, It's about 40 seconds basically, and that's all you have, and so the from the first few feet you go take off, everything is gonna count, and you don't have time to recover basically. You cannot say I'm gonna play it conservative and I'll catch him later.
Roger, I don't want to embarrass you, but I've said to you many times that you've always been one of my heroes. One reason was because of your racing career in the World Championships and how you represented your sport, your country, and your teams that you always rode for, but how you reinvented yourself as a team manager, as a coach, as somebody that's always growing in the sport. But let's talk for a moment about some memories from Motocross the Nations where you were a rider.
Well, I think always the first is always a big thing. The first time you win something, and that was 69. That's a long time ago, and then there was one before that where it was in Switzerland, the track called Payerne, and it did not stop raining the whole week leading up to the race and on the weekend. And Belgium was the only team that actually qualified if you went by the rules, because we had 4 of our 5 riders at that time. It was 5 riders that had qualified and finished, and the other countries only had 1 or 2 riders that were able to get around the track. That's how bad the conditions were, and they ended up canceling the event at the end of after the first race, and then we went into town, and we were all young kids, and of course Joel was with us and all that, and we raced. We did a little partying and raced hell in town, and police came and all that, and it was kind of wild and crazy, but it was pretty funny actually.
Now let's talk about Joel Robert for a moment. You've told me the story, and it brings me to my knees every time I hear it, about you and one of the Czechoslovakian CZ mechanics going over the top of the Swiss Alps with Joel.
Yeah, Joel's mechanic was about 6'5" and probably 280, and big tough guy. And so we had Joel had a Mercedes, a 200 diesel at the time, and with a trailer behind, and we were going to a race in Italy, going over the Alps, and for half hour already, Joel's mechanic, had been asking, "Hey Joel, I need to go to the bathroom, please pull over." And Joel would keep saying, "Yeah, next stop, Victor, next stop." And now we're starting to already climb the beginning of the mountain. The pass there is called Mont Cenis. It's going from France into Torino, and so after Victor begging for a long time, Joel finally pulled off in a truck stop, and it was a big open parking lot, and Victor can barely hold it and runs out of the car and comes back, and as soon as he is right by the car ready to grab the door handle, Joel starts moving forward and locks the car, and Victor goes along. He's walking along the car, and Joel keeps going forward, and Victor gets pissed off and jumps in front of the car, and Joel slowly keep going forward, and Victor is stepping backward, and suddenly he starts getting scared that he's going to run over, so he jumps on the hood of the car, the spread eagle, with a Mercedes star between his legs, and he's facing us. I'm the passenger, and Victor's face is, like inches away from the windscreen. And Joel now is back on the road, starting to go up the mountain and the switchbacks. And it's not snowing, but people are blowing their horn. They see this guy, they think he's been run over or something, and the car keeps going, And Victor is trying to grab hold of the car and the side of the car and all that, and then the next thing he grabs the windshield wipers, because that's something he can really hold on to. As soon as he does that, Joel turns on the windshield wiper and starts playing with the speed of the windshield wipers, and Victor is going. I thought he was going to kill us when we come to a stop, because he could have easily done so, as big as he was and as strong as he was. But Joel got away with it like usual. And
let's talk about your past motocross career for a moment. Everybody doesn't, I think, do everything that they've ever wanted to do in motocross, but you've done just about everything. World champion, and you also rode in the very first Supercross in America. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy, because at first I thought this is pretty crazy, and at that time you've seen the pictures and things. There was no landings on anything, and it was all drop off jumps, and it did not feel very natural, to do it. And I thought, I hope they can do a better job with the track in the future, and they did, and Supercross has became a big thing and became a good thing for our sport overall, and we reached people that we would have never reached without Supercross, and now, it's good.
I had the pleasure of being on Team America when you were the captain or the coach in 1984, 86, 87, and 88. But let's jump back to 1981, when everyone was kind of talking about it, and you and Dave Arnold and Team Honda got a small group of sponsors together and took over Chuck Sun, Donnie Hansen, Johnny O'Mara, and Danny Laporte to win for the very first time for Team America Motocross of Nations and Trophy of Nations.
That was awesome, and we took a bit of a gamble there, because we committed without really asking our bosses, our higher ups. At that time, the top Japanese people in American Honda did not know much about the Motocross of the Nation. Even it was not known as it became. But I thought it did not make any sense, to have a Motocross of Nations, which was for me the most important race of the year, without the Americans, because I knew how good the Americans were getting, and it would be like, even for the Europeans, winning without the Americans being there would not be a true team world championship. And so with Dave Arnold, we just took a chance, and we committed, and we had support from Motocross Action at the time, when Dick Miller was the editor, and we had some help from Bellray also. We had the guy that represented them in Europe, based in Belgium, Turkoon, and they were all gung-ho, and we ended up going over there and ended up winning both 250 and 500, because at that time it was two separate events, And when we came back, we were heroes. At the end, before we were leaving, we were in a bit of hot waters with our bosses, and said, "Hey, you guys are crazy, spending this much money for one race." And but then when we came back and they saw the value of it, and how much we got out of it, how much press we got out of it, how much goodwill we got out of it, was really awesome.
Following the 1981 Donations and Trophy Donations wins, I felt that Honda became not just a racing team, but the racing team. You obviously had some success in the past with Marty Tripes, Marty Smith, Pierre Kosmakers, and a few other riders, but after that, you really started to dominate.
Yeah, definitely. It put us on the map, and the respect became worldwide, and we built on that, and then we had to do it again and again, and we did it 13 years in a row.
As I said before, it was such an honor to be part of Team USA with you as our captain, 84, 86, 87, and 88. But this past year, we went back to Majora. It's hard to believe it's been 30 years, and the team at that point was so strong and so dominant with you at the helm. But there was somebody that I saw there that really didn't get a lot of credit, and that's Dave Arnold. And Dave is so important to Team Honda and also to Team America. Let's talk about Dave for a moment.
Yeah. Dave was always, he loved Europe. He had worked for me as my mechanic in Europe when I switched to Honda. And he really took a liking to Europe and all that, and to the whole motocross, where motocross came from, and he became a super fan of it, and he was a big promoter of GPs, and and the motocross of nations became so important to him, and Dave did everything he could, and it was cool to 30 years later that he was there to see, and he is doing some work now for our sister company, the Husqvarna Group in Austria, and he's still as enthusiastic as ever. Yeah, we got along really good, and you remember the Honda team. I'm not speaking about the nation, but the regular team during the season. You remember how competitive you guys were, you and Stanton and Jean-Michel, and it was, everybody was basically, the racing was between the three of you guys, and there was a lot of tension. Each mechanic wanted this guy to win, and of course you guys wanted to beat the other guy, and you knew that to win the race you had to beat your teammate, and it was sometimes difficult to keep things smooth, and and I was put in a difficult position many times because Jean-Michel spoke French, and then if things got tight, he started speaking French to me, and then the mechanics thought that he was talking bad or something, and part of that. Well, Danny was the same way. It was not just Lunis, and Cliff at his side, he was a different specimen himself, and they all were. They were all worked out and wanted to win, and wanted especially their rider to win, and so we, between Dave and I, we try to to address each problem that we faced by, okay, in this case maybe it's better you talk to them, in this other case I go talk to them, and but it was sure a good problem to have, I wish I had this problem all the time.
As a team manager, it's a tough position, but I just wanted to let you and Dave know that throughout my career at Honda, I never felt second best or like a stepchild, because when I first got there, Johnny O'Mara and David Bailey were so tight and they were part of a family. But you guys always helped me, whether it be emotionally, technically, no matter what. And that's a hard thing to do, especially when you had three riders that were so dominant. But me as a rider, I always felt like you had my best interest. And also, you let us go out there and may the best man win.
That is honestly the way we saw it and the way we wanted it. We wanted to give all the options that we had to each guy. Give him the options and then let the rider make his final call, final choice. And I still try to do it that way today.
I have said this on different podcasts and things like that, and I think I thanked you for it. But at the time, it was one of the hardest things to hear. And as I was going through my career and towards the end, when Jeff Stanton had the number one plate, we were in Japan and somebody came up and said to Jeff, "Are you the number one rider?" Which he was at the time. And I made some stupid ass comment like, "Yeah, he's got the number one plate, but I make more money." And I felt the discomfort immediately from you. And you waited until later. You pulled me aside and you said, "RJ, don't do this. Don't go down like that. You've done too much, and you don't need to make crappy comments like that." And I just want to thank you for having the balls to say that to me, because a lot of times a friend is somebody that says something to you that is uncomfortable. And you respected me enough as a friend, as a rider, as a champion, and I'll never forget that. Thank you.
But I felt I had to tell you because I didn't, you had done so much for the sport, as a rider, for the team, and I felt it was going to take away if you follow that road, and it's hard to be a champion and then feel one day, your time is going by and there's other guys coming and they become champions, but I did not want to to diminish yourself by saying something that was childish, at the time, yeah.
I've had to transition into different careers, into racing trucks and PR and TV and riding coach and all these different things. And I know it wasn't easy, but you've made it look easy. Your transition from rider to working with Dave to manager to continue that drive. I want to finish with, how was that transition to give up riding, and then how do you keep the motivation year after year? You're not 28 anymore, buddy.
Yeah. I think what made it easier for me is that when I went to Honda, I had a deal for a 3-year deal, and I had the option to ride 1 or 2 years as a racer test rider. And then there was automatically a position for me on the management side. And when I raced my last race in Luxembourg, I announced that I retired then, and then the following week I was in California and started working with the team, with the American Honda team, and that was at the end of 1980. And basically I did not stop, and I think that made it easier. If I had stopped for 6 months or a year, I don't know, I would have been really bored, I think, and maybe start hanging out with the wrong people, and then it would have been probably tough to get back, to do a regular job and a full-time job. And I think a lot of sports people struggle with that, and I think probably the mistake is take too much time in between, because usually if you've been a champion you can afford to take some time off, and I'm always afraid to take too much time off because I'm afraid I won't be able to get back into my regular mode. And I like what I do, and I really am thankful to the people, to Suzuki to give me the opportunity, and then to Honda to give me another opportunity there. And the industry has been good to me, and now with my job with KTM, I really enjoy what I do, and they have given me a ton of support to be able to do what I do.
Well, if you're listening to this and you don't know who Roger DeCoster is, I'm very surprised. But if you look in the history books under what a champion is, you'll see that Roger DeCoster is right there. He's a guy that was relentless on the track. And when I had the pleasure of working with him at Team Suzuki when I was the riding coach, he'd be there at late hours modifying cylinders, looking for anything that he could to give his riders the advantage. So I just want to thank you, Roger, for giving me somebody to look up to, target to shoot at, and for being the champion that you are.
Yeah, thank you, and I owe you a lot too. Thank you.